हजारों साल नरगिस अपनी बेनूरी पे रोती है, बड़ी मुश्किल से होता है चमन में दीदावार पैदा. Don't get feared because of this vastness of the subject, right? Or vastness of the syllabus. Rather, always try to think of finding the right strategy. If you really follow a good approach or good strategy, in that case, trust me, you will be able to minimize the syllabus. If you are really covering so many pages to cover the syllabus of history optional, in that case, frankly speaking, at the end, the syllabus would become too vast for you. Just by covering those 60-70% of the syllabus, your job is done. Since you need to perform well in the examination, so your preparations would be also directed towards that. If you have seen all the PYQs properly, in that case, since there is a great amount of repetition in the PYQs, quite easily you'll be able to answer most of the questions coming in the exam. Hello everyone, this is Piyush. As you can see that there is something written over here. And what is it? Vast syllabus or poor strategy. Of course, it is with respect to history optional. So there is a basic perception for history optional that it does have the vast syllabus. और ऐसा perception क्यों है? ऐसा perception इसलिए है क्योंकि when you compare the syllabus of history optional with the syllabus of the other optional papers, in that case you do find that somehow the syllabus of history optional seems to be vast. And there are a couple of reasons because of what this perception is there. And I don't believe that students should not have this kind of concepts or this kind of fear. Of course, there are certain things which are really making it somehow vast, or at least this perception of vast syllabus of history. Frankly speaking, I believe that there are three reasons because of what you find that the syllabus of history optional seems to be pretty vast. The first is about the expansive coverage. What do I mean by expansive coverage? Because if you'll see the syllabus of history optional, in that case, you may find one thing, that there are so many pages consumed to cover the syllabus of history optional. If you'll compare the syllabus of history optional with the other optional papers, you'll find that the syllabus of the other optional paper is somehow being covered in 2 or 3 pages. On the other hand, when it comes to the syllabus of history optional, you can find at least 6-7 pages are there. But then it is not only about the pages. Apart from that, you can find that if you'll see the history syllabus of history optional, there are so many themes, right? And then within those themes, there are so many sub themes also. So that's how we can say the expansive, extensive pages. Apart from that, there were so many themes, sub themes, topics, subtopics, right? And combinedly, it is really making it very vast. There is one more thing which is there. It's that how much time is needed to cover this syllabus, and in fact this misconception is also there that it does consume so many months. It really matters, right? It really matters. Why? Because if you have been really giving 1 year or more than 1 year to cover the syllabus of any optional paper, in that case probably it is not fit in your strategy of for UPSC civil services examination. There's one more thing I'll say. Okay, when it comes to the content of history optional, there is undoubtedly, if you'll really compile the content of history optional, in that case you will find that there are so many pages, sometimes more than 10,000 pages are there. But then it really matters that from where exactly you have been compiling these information. Mostly what happens, whenever students think of history optional, there is a basic perception history optional is all about content, there is no such concept which is needed, and that's how they just go for compilation of the documents or the information from the various sources. And in fact, there are a couple of sources which are very popular for history optional, so they mostly take their information from those sources. और जब भी आप ऐसे सोर्सेज से इंफॉर्मेशन लेते हैं, तो मैंने कहा ना कि बहुत सारे पेजेस है, एंड समटाइम्स द नंबर ऑफ पेजेस क्रॉस 10,000 also. So then it is naturally going to create this perception that the syllabus is too vast. But you need to think very logically whenever it comes to this covering of the syllabus. You need to think very logically that is it really true? And I believe that no, actually it is incorrect. The syllabus is very vast. Rather, I believe that it is your approach which is having the problem, right? So that's the reason because of what instead of focusing on content first, you need to focus on strategy, right? What is the real question? The real question is that you believe that the syllabus is fixed, and if it is the fixed syllabus, in that case you need to cover the syllabus in those many pages. But I believe it is not the syllabus which is fixed. Rather, what is the most important thing? This is variable. And what is it? It is approach or strategy. The moment it comes to approach and strategy, if you really follow a good approach or good strategy, in that case, trust me, you will be able to minimize the syllabus. Unfortunately, nobody follows a proper strategy, right? Nobody follows a proper strategy, and that's the reason, because of what, they find it too vast or they make it too vast. Because if you do not follow a particular approach, in that case, what is going to happen? Undoubtedly, you'll be just chasing the content, and if you'll keep on chasing the content, in that case, obviously, at the end, you will find that there are so many pages that you need to cover. And if you're really covering so many pages to cover the syllabus of history optional, in that case, frankly speaking, at the end, the syllabus would become too vast for you. But I believe when it comes to strategy, right, by following a good strategy, somehow you'll be able to minimize your effort while preparing for UPSC Civil Services examination with respect to history optional. When it comes to strategy does not mean only the POIQ based preparation, because that's also one misconception which is there among the students, that if you are following or if you are making your studies based on the POIQs, so this is the strategy. Frankly speaking, at any point of time, I'm not discarding the importance of the POIQs. They are literally very important, but it does not mean your whole preparation should be based on what, the POIQs, because this is just one aspect of your strategy. This is not the complete strategy for history optional which should be followed by you. So in that case, what is the real meaning of strategy? Let's try to understand them one by one. Okay, what is the real strategy then? So the first, when you approach paper 1 and paper 2, frankly speaking, you need a very different approach. But before I come to the strategy which is needed differently for paper 1 and paper 2, understand first while covering the syllabus, what is the the trend, or what is the strategy being followed by you. So you mostly go for the vertical study, right? What is the significance of the vertical study? The vertical study simply means the chronology based understanding, or the chronology based coverage of the syllabus. When you cover the syllabus of history chronology wise, in that case, what do? You just cover one theme or one topic, second, third, fourth, and so on so forth. But then it is not the right way of covering the syllabus. When you cover the syllabus, actually you go for the horizontal method. And what is this horizontal method, or let's say interlinkages, the method of interlinkages? Basically here, you do not cover the syllabus only vertically, rather you just try to connect one topic with the other. And when you do these kind of interlinkages, somehow you are in a better position, because then only you are able to somehow conceptualize any particular topic properly. And if you are not able to somehow locate the topics in a proper context, in that case, frankly speaking, you won't be able to get very good marks. That's one thing that you have to keep in mind, that instead of going for this vertical method, you always go for the horizontal method, and that is how you'll be able to somehow get better result. And apart from this, there's another thing, when it comes to the differences between paper 1 and paper 2, paper 1 seems to be more conceptual, paper 1 seems to be more thematic, rather than paper 2, because in paper 2, somehow the approach should be very different, and that is more event based. Here it is more concept based, and that's how you have to follow a different strategy for paper 1 and paper 2 also. So first of all, you need to understand, while covering paper 1 and paper 2, the approach should be very different, right? So this is the approach that you need to follow. What next? Next, I can say that is the theme based understanding. Now, themes are literally very important, right? And if you do not follow the themes properly, in that case, somehow you'll be facing so many problems. So first of all, instead of seeing the syllabus and the vastness of syllabus, try to locate, or try to differentiate, or try to break the syllabus into multiple themes. Such as we can talk about that if it comes to history optional, frankly speaking, you have to break it in multiple themes, such as political, right, economic, social, cultural, and religious. If you have been following this particular strategy for it, let's say political. Now, within political, you can find sub-themes are there, such as polity, administration, state formation, and so on. So there might be some sub-themes or some institutions within that. But then this is one important area. In the same way, when you talk about economy, so while covering the economy, you need to focus on such as trade, agrarian system, urbanization, agrarian relation, urban relation, right? These are some other themes, or let's say sub-themes that you need to cover under this economy. When it comes to social, this is also one of the most important things, and within that you have to understand the various sub themes such as caste is there, gender is there, varna is there, like the social formation, the social reforms, and so many other things. So that's how you can find that there are so many sub themes. Apart from that, you can find the cultural themes, then you can find the religious themes. So that's how first of all you divide the syllabus into multiple themes, and then within these themes also you need to find some sub themes also. So these are not related to syllabus. Understand the point. These are not related to syllabus, these are related to society. Since in history optional you have been studying about society, and that's the reason first of all understand what are the bigger themes, what history as a discipline is trying to cover. Now when it comes to these themes, there again you need to understand that what are the themes which are more important for you. So if we'll see the history optional syllabus, in that case, you'll find that there are some which are very important, such as when it comes to the themes related to society, this is one of the most important themes, and that's how while covering the syllabus, you need to emphasize on more on which part? The society. Right. After society, I can say somehow the economy becomes, sorry, and another important theme that you need to cover. And again, so this is there's greater weightage of the economic theme. Then I can say the cultural is there, then religious is there, and in fact this is one theme unfortunately which is emphasized by you more, this is having the lesser weightage. If we'll divide, or if we'll we'll try to somehow find the percentage distribution in percentage of these themes, you can find that somehow society is the most important one, and then it comes to the other themes. But then while covering these themes, then another thing that you have to keep in mind that there are interlinkages among these themes. So not only these themes, right, but I must say you need to somehow develop this habit of making the interlinkages among these themes also, as that's how we'll be able to somehow cover the syllabus in a beautiful way, in a required manner, right? Because it is not necessary that you cover the syllabus, rather you should cover it in such a way that you are ultimately catering the requirement of the UPSC Civil Services examination, of course with respect to the optional paper, not really that you have been covering this history as a subject. Of course history is a subject, is a discipline, for that it's being taught in the universities, but then here you are not covering it from the academic perspective. The approach should be very different, that you need to understand, right? And the moment you go for such kind of thematic understanding of the subject, let me tell you very categorically that somehow around 60 to 70% syllabus, would be, I must say, it can be minimized to 60-70%. I must say at least 30 to 40% syllabus, they are the topics which are given in the syllabus, they are irrelevant, because somehow you'll be able to note down one thing, just by covering those 60-70% of the syllabus, your job is done. So since you need to simply score good, right? Since you need to perform well in the examination, so your preparations would be also directed towards that. So that's how first of all the thing that you need to keep in mind, that it should be a thematic based preparation, right, or theme based preparation. Now coming to the second thing, yes, I have already discussed that PYQs are literally important for you, but when it comes to the PYQs, right, there are few things that you need to understand very carefully. What is the basic perception? Basic perception PYQs के लिए यही होता है कि आप सारे PYQs को बहुत अच्छे से देख लीजिए, because if you have seen all the PYQs properly, in that case, since there is a great amount of repetition in the PYQs, quite easily you'll be able to answer most of the questions coming in the exam. To a certain extent it is true, the undoubtedly there are repetition in the repetition of the PYQs, but I believe that before 2013, 14 or 15, there was good amount of repetition of the PYQs. But then while seeing the PYQs, you need to keep in mind some other things also. As in, let me tell you that undoubtedly the themes which are there in the PYQs, they are being repeated, and there you can from that you can somehow identify the pattern. But then what I'm trying to tell you, that identifying the pattern is more important, because if you're able to identify the pattern, in that case only somehow you'll be able to even anticipate, or let's say you will be able to guess that what are the other probable areas. So जब आप PYQs देखते हैं, इसका मतलब ये नहीं होता है कि आपने सिर्फ जो exactly PYQs में पूछा हुआ उसको कवर कर ले, rather आपको ये insight डेवलप करनी चाहिए कि किस तरीके से इन PYQs के बेस पे आप दूसरे जो है डायरेक्शंस है या दूसरे जो डायमेंशंस है उनसे रिलेटेड चीजें भी कवर कर सके। आपको मैं एग्जांपल के थ्रू मैं बताने की कोशिश करता हूँ। लेट्स से लाइक नो आई थिंक लास्ट ईयर और लास्ट ईयर देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन on physiocratic ideology, which is one of the important idea or ideology behind the implementation of permanent settlement, right? So the question has been asked with respect to this physiocratic ideology. Now point is that if they have asked a question on physiocratic ideology by relating it with the permanent settlement, in that case it is quite possible that they are linking the Rayadwari settlement with some other ideologies such as Ricardian drain theory or let's say utilitarian ideology, and they can ask a question on that also. So when you cover the PYQs, what you need to keep in mind that don't focus only on exactly the themes or exactly the dimensions which are being asked, rather focus on other possible areas by seeing the trend. So that's very important when you talk about the PYQs, and that's how you can set your priorities, right? And that's how you can cover the answer. Okay, fine. Moving to the next thing, which is very important, and what is this sound concept? Fine. When it comes to the concepts, normally what happens, people ignore concept too much. In the beginning itself, I did tell you that जब भी लोग history option का syllabus cover करते हैं, उनको सिर्फ और सिर्फ ये लगता है कि सिर्फ content का compilation है. There is no concept needed, and that is one reason because of what majority of the students avoid classes for the history option. Do you know why? उनको लगता है कि it is just the compilation of content. How they are going to learn these content in the classes? There are so many places from where they can find this content. They just need to collect it, and they have to go for this रट्टाफिकेशन. आपको लगता है बस आप उन कंटेंट को रट्टोफाई करेंगे और आपको मार्क्स मिल जाएगा, ठीक है? This is completely a wrong notion. History optional is also all about the concepts, right? And in fact, why is it needed? Let me tell you again very categorically that when it comes to the optional syllabus, what kind of information is needed? If you'll even go to the notification of the UPSC, you'll find that categorically it is written कि आपको graduation level की understanding चाहिए. सो सवाल यह है कि अगर आपको ग्रेजुएशन लेवल की अंडरस्टैंडिंग चाहिए तो आपको वाकई लगता है कि उन सारे पेजेस को पढ़ने के बाद विल बी एबल टू डेवलप दैट ग्रेजुएशन लेवल ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग? नॉट रियली, बिकॉज यू जस्ट अज्यूम यू जस्ट थिंक ऑफ वन फैक्ट दैट ग्रेजुएशन इज बीइंग डन in 3 years. Undoubtedly in those 3 years people are reading so many readings, so many articles and then books and so many other things. So how you're going to develop it in a shorter span of period? So there I must say that the concepts at one hand they are pretty much needed, and you have to develop it in a shorter span of period. So when you try to do it by reading the books, because there are two trends again I must say here, that some people believe either by reading couple of books, and in fact specifically for one area they read one book, for ancient one, for medieval one, for modern one, and for world one, right? But then, as I told you, that if its graduation level understanding is needed, in that case, do you really believe that just by reading one book or let's say couple of notes, it is possible to collect this much information or to develop this kind of understanding? Not really. It's not possible. So frankly speaking, if you really need to develop the concepts of graduation level, in that case, you really need the support, right? You really need the guidance by a mentor who can get you more concepts, more ideas, more relevant information, as per the requirement of the exam. Because now it is not that easy to develop the things what you cover in 3 years or 4 years, just within 6 months. Why do you consume time? You just consume time only for this reason that you try to cover the things by your own, right? आप इतने डिटेल में नहीं जा सकते, आप इतने डीपर नहीं जा सकते किसी सब्जेक्ट में या किसी थीम में कि आपको ये पता चले कि what are the topics which are important, what can be somehow avoided by you. So if you really want to understand these kind of things, so frankly speaking, you have to get the support or get the support of any class or any mentor or any guide, because in that way somehow you not only you are building the concepts, but at the same time the way I discussed in the previous slides, you can actually avoid 30 to 40% of your syllabus, and you can focus only on 60 to 70% of the syllabus which are more relevant, and that's how you'll be able to somehow get more results or better result by giving minimum efforts. So if you really want to minimize your efforts, in that case probably you should take support from somebody. Now it may be anything, fine. That's the reason because of what I must urge you to develop the concepts rather than only only the facts or only the content. Now, whatever I had been discussing, that I would like to prove with the help of certain examples also, such as there are a couple of topics being given in your syllabus, right? So this is a basically case study. So let's say if we'll see this syllabus of ancient and medieval India, there are so many topics being given, such as themes in early Indian cultural history, like political and economic structures, right? Then society, social order, these there are various themes they have been given. So cultural traditions. There are so many topics. There are so many topics being given. But ideally, frankly speaking, if I'll ask this question, are all topics equally important? Not really. Let's say when it comes to the syllabus, what I had been showing you just now, ये syllabus के कौन से part को cover करता है? Early medieval India. Early medieval India is one of the most complicated area, and that's why I got it here, because how you are going to simplify your content or your syllabus. I would like to just tell you through this. There are so many things being given, frankly speaking, right? But I must say that out of these topics, you can just hardly find 5 to 6 important themes of the topics which are relevant for you. And that's how I have written here, all topics are not equally important or they're not relevant. So you have to learn that what is the high frequency of the topics, right? High frequency, that again, you can understand through some PYQs, you can understand through certain anticipations, you can understand by some conceptual knowledge of history, because that actually tells you that okay, there are possibilities of these areas and there are certain areas which are not relevant at all. The questions are never going to come from these kind of topics. That's what you understand through this, right? So that's how, as I told you, that you can figure out high frequency questions or how high frequency topics, medium frequency topics and the low frequency topics. जो low frequency है बिल्कुल अवॉइड करना है, एक बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग हमें कलेक्ट कर लेनी है और उस बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग के बाद हमें क्या करना है, उनको छोड़ देना, उनको बार बार रिवाइज भी नहीं करना. On the other hand, when it comes to the high frequency topics, आपको बार बार रिवाइज करना है, ठीक है. So this is how you have to minimize your efforts, and that's really very important if you want to score very good, right? So when you talk about strategy, frankly speaking, if you really follow a good strategy, in that case, this optional is also going to consume only 5 to 6 months. And अगर आपने 5 से 6 महीने सही strategy के through इस subject को, इस optional paper को prepare किया, so frankly speaking, it is not very tough to get good marks. That is somewhere around 300 or close to 300. So that's the reason because of what, don't get feared because of this vastness of the subject, right? Or vastness of the syllabus. Rather, always try to think of finding the right strategy that you can minimize your efforts and you can score very good, which is the ultimate target for you people. So I believe that it is getting you some insight for the subject, and it can help you to confine your hard work, or it can limit your hard work, and it can get you the better result. Thank you very much.